have the CEO of Elyx. It is the luxury brand of Absolut. Everyone knows Absolut, but he's also the CMO of Pernod Ricard. And this is Jonas Tahlin. I got to tour the Elyx facility beforehand, and it's like a step back into the 70s, into the 50s. It's just, this property goes on and on and on up here in the Hollywood Hills. What do you use this place for?
Well, first of all, I have the luxury of living here, which is great. A life hack.
Right,
It's
life hack.
such a beautiful place. But mainly we're here to entertain. We're here to invite people in, give them a sense of what the brand of Elyx is all about, what it feels, what it looks like, what it tastes like. And the idea was just born out of the notion that rather than creating a print ad or a TV ad, the best thing we can do to get somebody to experience this brand and this product is to give them like a physical manifestation of an expression. So that's why we built this house.
Now, you started your career at Procter Gamble.
Yeah.
And had hunted out of there.
Yeah.
At what time did the experiential, I've been in marketing a long time myself, as you know. At what point did you see the transition to the experiential from the traditional print, radio, TV?
It was pretty quick, to be honest. I got onto this business in 2006, and I would say it was right about then that the traditional model of just doing print ads, which by the way is obviously what made Absolut vodka so famous, that classic print ad campaign, it was still iconic and beautiful, but it didn't really move people as much as maybe an experience could move somebody. So I would say it's like 2006, 2007, 2008, we started figuring out that the best way to really get people to react to what you're doing or what you're producing, what you're saying, is to give them an experience. That's not to say we don't do traditional ads anymore, we still do, but this became a much bigger part of the mix.
What's interesting, because I believe you still need traditional, radio, print, TV.
Yeah.
Then I think there's social of the side, which doesn't have the same energy of experience, but it's a different experience. And it has its purpose or place to capture the traditional and then amplify and perpetuate it onto a platform.
That's well said.
But the neat thing today, and why, coming from the sports side of thing, which is all experiential, right? That's why people still go to the game, is that people still go to the game.
They do.
Right? I'm going to go to the semifinal in Arizona, we sold out.
Yeah.
All the real good games and real good parties people want to go to. So
yeah.
They still want to go to the movies.
Yes.
More than ever, I think, because people are so dependent upon, especially the social side of things, that when they experience something live, they'll never forget it.
True.
And yet, because they're so overloaded every day with other experiences,
True.
The live ones, I think, have more value than they did in 2006 when you started.
I agree. I completely agree. Especially in a world where social media, as amazing as it is, it creates a little bit of distance. It creates a little bit of coldness maybe because you're sitting on your own and you're staring at a phone. I think in that context, the experience maybe becomes even more important because in some ways, technology can isolate you a little bit. So I'm with you. I think also it depends a little bit on where are you in the life cycle of a brand. If, as we are starting out, quite new, we still need that mass media to bring people's awareness to what Absolut Elyx is. So the model here, which is kind of important to understand, is even if we have this house and we have parties in it frequently, we can only get a couple of hundred people in here. And there are obviously a couple of 100 million people in America. And that's where the experience and social play so well together, because ideally we will have some of these celebrities here and they will host and capture the experience, and then all of a sudden what's going on here becomes publicized in the entire world. That's why I think the two have to work hand in hand a little bit. Otherwise, this would be incredibly slow burn, or I would have to build an Elyx house like this in every city in America, which I think our ownership might have some issues with.
And I think beyond that too, as you learn to capture, amplify, and perpetuate game with celebrities as bug lights to get the people here, the ones with the biggest followings, I think it also raises the importance of the traditional side. Let me give you an idea. When this got on Fox Sports, the Playbook, when the sports side, the Sugar Ray Leonards and the Ray Lewises, when I do those, it has this Fox Sports TV side. Well, the young marketing, branding people in my company were like, no one's going to watch it, Dave. And I said, you're right. No one will watch it, but I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to take a picture when they're surfing through or they walk through an airport and see it. They're going to take a picture of it and they're going to post it up. And when I meet with people like Jonas Tahlin and say, oh, the Playbook is also on Fox Sports, my credibility goes through the roof.
Of course.
And you'll never watch it.
Of course.
You'll listen to it on a podcast, maybe see it on Entrepreneur, but it's so important, I think, especially with the alcohol brands. It's still important when you open up the luxury magazine to see that brand.
It is, because it becomes then part of your consideration set. It becomes somewhere in the back of your mind, oh yeah, I've seen that brand somewhere. It's a way for the brand to get a legitimacy, which I think is incredibly important. So yeah, for sure.
And you bring up a really good point, because I think people discount credibility and legitimacy. I always tell people, you understand that if you're 100% credible, anything you say after that will be accepted.
It's so true. And you know what? I think in alcohol, this is more important than in anything, because if you walk into a bar with your friends, or maybe you're on a date, making the wrong choice equals losing face. So I think if you're going to go into a Walmart and buy, whatever it is, shampoo for yourself,
right?
It's a different game. Here you're actually saying something about yourself based on what is it that you're ordering. Are you an interesting person? Are you a spender? Are you a connoisseur? I think it says a lot about you, and that's why it's so important.
That's so interesting, because as you are in one of the most elite brands and subsets of brands, and I can barely say, the Ricard put it, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's the highest, it's like Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
The irony is, you started in the mass.
Yes.
Right? There's nothing more mass than Procter Gamble.
No.
Right? P&G, that's the shampoos, the soaps, the multi-billion-dollar stuff that's sold. How did you make the transition to such a high-end luxury quality brand like Elyx?
I would say I was probably quite lucky. First of all, I love Procter & Gamble. It's a great company. They taught me most of what I still know today. But when people ask me, what's it like working in the alcohol world versus Procter & Gamble, I'll tell them the truth, which is when you do a store check, which you want to do as a marketeer, when you work for a company like Procter & Gamble, you'll go and check out the diaper shelf. If you're in our world, you go into some of the most interesting restaurants and nightclubs in the world to do the same thing. So obviously I'm very fortunate to work in an industry which is as fun as this. I think the top thing that I had to learn moving from the P&G world into the spirits world, working with brands like Absolut and Jameson and all these amazing brands that Pernod Ricard has, is that sort of emotional piece, which I think is so much more important in the world of spirits than it is when you're, in the typical sort of fast-moving consumer goods industry. You have to play with people's imagination. You have to make people want to be part of whatever that brand is trying to express. And that's a major difference, the whole lifestyle aspect of it. That was a big sort of transition I had to make. But I always enjoyed going out. I always enjoyed being late, nightclubs, all of that good stuff. So I felt pretty much at home in this industry.
And you've lived through it, right? Not everybody can live in this world and stay out late.
No, it's true. I mean, every now and then I'll just not drink for a sustained period of time. Bartenders here know that when I say a wink martini, they will know to make a water martini. I still want to have a glass in my hand. It doesn't necessarily always have that.
I did some consulting for one of your competitors, and I remember so many times with the shots.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they're dark out. You just make sure no one's behind you, and you do the
It's
little
so
toss.
true. It's so true.
Or you do this fake sip.
Oh yeah, of course. But that's why like a vodka on the rocks is a pretty good drink, because you can sip on that and you don't really know. Nobody knows how much you had. My role model in this industry is a gentleman called Michel Roux. He's a French guy and essentially the guy who created Absolut vodka here in America. He told me very early on that he had killed a lot of plants in bars across America because he was silently after about 10 or 15 drinks, those plants are going to get drunk and not very happy. So he told me he killed a lot of plants.
Well, it's great because you've covered what I think are two of the biggest tips that I give. One, you have to be credible, and two, people buy on emotion for logical reasons.
Yes.
But beyond credibility and emotional attachment, there's the profitability side.
Of course.
Right, and this is not an inexpensive home.
No.
And you're dealing with a high-end luxury product.
Correct.
Are there additional streams of revenue other than just the elite side of selling vodka?
Yeah, well, I'll give you one example, which I think is a fun example. So what we discovered was we created for Absolut Elyx these copper drinking vessels that you may have seen.
Yeah,
copper
really cool.
Pineapples, copper dollar horses, copper everything. And what we noticed
They're
was
the ones that people steal from the bars with the mules.
Exactly.
And they have to start putting a deposit on.
We noticed that people started stealing them.
Yeah.
And so why don't we start selling them? So we've now created something which is called the elyxboutique.com, where you can actually go in and buy the signature Elyx drinking vessels, which has become a whole new stream of monetization. I want to comment on what you said though, because obviously, yes, this is a luxurious thing and quite an opulent thing, and not inexpensive, as you say. But the interesting thing to think about is the cost of this is less on a monthly basis than a single billboard down on Sunset Boulevard. Advertising is not cheap.
Right.
Whereas this then, we talked about the amplification you can get through social media and everything else. Actually turned out to probably be one of the most cost-efficient things that we've done as a business. So,
in that business analysis, is that something that you figured out, the company figured out, your executives figured out? Because a lot of people, I worked on some projects in Times Square, and people say, could this make money? It's such a high lease.
Yes.
But then they figured it is a billboard, the store itself. It's a live billboard that people can walk in and touch and feel. And the amount of sales that are created, even if it's not in that store, is extraordinary.
For sure.
Who does that analysis for you?
Well, I think, first of all, we have smart finance people, but we also are well aware walking into this industry that it's a very high margin business with high barriers to entry. So this is one of the most profitable businesses you can be in, is the alcohol business. It's incredible.
Big margins.
Big margins. The difficult thing in this industry.
Like shampoo.
Yes.
Exactly. Soap and water, and it's like what? Or skincare.
Yes. $50.
Yeah, exactly. Luxury brands are even worse, right? I have my daughters have like $200 skincare. I'm like, whoa. This is like soap and water.
Well, working at Procter Gamble, we all know that $5 product is just as good. But again, it's
about
the emotion.
Never gives up his loyalty.
Would never buy a competitor. No. So yeah, I think what we know is we need to invest to break through in this business. Once you break through, once you become a brand that's sort of in American culture, you are golden. The challenge is getting that breakthrough. And at some point, it's not too hard to calculate what that's worth. And so, that's how the math goes.
It's so interesting, too, because you and I have been in business a little longer, and it's a different market in the respect that it's more than just the American market as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you establish a brand today, the jump becomes so big because it's worldwide.
Yes.
And the demand sometimes overseas becomes even greater because everybody wants that American experience.
Yes.
And then this house becomes more famous because the celebrities, the musicians, they're all posting about the Absolut Elyx home, right? And it grows and grows and grows exponentially. How, curious, because your brand is in the midst of doing it, how do you prepare for that humongous jump?
Yeah.
Because it is a really big jump.
It is. In Pernod Ricard, we're fortunate in that we have a Pernod Ricard affiliate in every single meaningful country around the world. They're selling Absolut Elyx, just as we are. So everything we do here is obviously transmitted to those markets. They get the benefit, and the business grows there as we grow in the US. And it's kind of interesting. Not every industry, if you think about it, has this cultural center in America. Spirits has that. If you think of cars, for example, if you walk down the streets in Europe, you're going to see a very different, set of cars than you do here. Here you have the American cars, the F-150, the pickup trucks. They don't exist there. In spirits, there's nothing which is successful outside of America which wasn't first successful here in America first. Therefore, the marketing job, is to create the success here. Then it almost happens automatically everywhere else.
Because of the distribution. Now, to take a step back to, you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right? And both of us started careers with very large companies. I was with Thomson Reuters, West Publishing.
Yes.
And one thing that I've noticed about you is you carry an extraordinary amount of gratitude for Procter & Gamble.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I see one of the challenges that entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs experience is that they get into a job like Procter & Gamble and they don't appreciate what they're being given, with the benefits, the salary, the travel, the lessons, the training. And so much of the time I think that entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs are really creating interference or corrosion to their success because they're not grateful.
Yes.
Can you give some advice to younger and entrepreneurs about the benefits of kind of sowing your feet there with a big company and how to take advantage of that.
Yeah, well, I really think it's a gift. I looked at my time, and I still look at my time at Procter Gamble as paid education. You go to university.
It's an MBA day.
It is. And you end up with huge student debt. Here, a company is actually paying you for teaching you stuff that's going to be valuable for the rest of your life.
And some of those companies will actually pay for your MBA.
I know.
As well, besides giving you the
incredible. And then making that transition, so it was tough to leave P&G for that reason. I still have that strong emotional attachment and gratitude for everything that company gave me. Sent me to Geneva, to Rio de Janeiro, to Caracas, learned languages, had all of these experiences. Pernod Ricard then, I think the gratitude here is how brave is the company to allow me to spin off a luxury version of Absolut, send me off to America, let me pick good people, fund the journey to do this, and then sort of sit back and just hope for my success. It's incredibly brave if you think about it, but it's also smart, because if we're able to break through in the way that we're starting to break through with Absolut Elyx, it's obviously going to pay off. But from the outside, that's a brave thing to do for a company, is to give that amount of freedom of movement to one of its younger executives.
One thing that we have in common as the last question, because our professions and our industries are perceived as fun.
Yes.
Right? People would pay
Yes.
to do half the things
Yes.
we get paid to do.
Yes.
Right? That to
Yes.
me is a good definition of
Yeah.
I don't call it a job, I call it activity you get paid for, activity you don't get paid for.
Yes.
The expertise and the courage that it takes to actually create activity you get paid for,
Yes.
that other people will pay for.
Yes.
And then exponentially make money from that. That's that courage you're talking about. For you, when did you create, that vision, that dream? Because I think so many people hold themselves back and like, oh, I can't do that. I could never work in sports. I could never work in the party business. I could never do that. Where did you make? Because P&G is a traditional company. How did you? It's brave of the company, Pernod Ricard, to do it.
Yes.
But how was you as a person living in a different country say, gosh, I can really basically party for a living.
I do have a day job.
I do have activity you get paid for, activity you don't. But a lot of your job people pay to do.
In this case, to get very specific, as a Swedish person and having lived in, I think, 12 or 13 countries already, one of those brands that you see everywhere is Absolut. You see Volvo, you see IKEA, you see these Swedish companies that you're proud of. Absolut as a brand, though, had been around for such a long time, and I always felt like, wouldn't it be amazing if we had this luxury expression of Absolut? I wanted Absolut again to become what it deserves to be, which is the most aspirational vodka brand. But over time, other vodkas, I'm not going to name them, but other vodkas had come in above Absolut in tall and frosted bottles, and a little bit, exactly, and kind of knocked Absolut a little bit off its pedestal as the most aspirational, exciting, and luxurious brand. And I felt like the only way to fix that and to put Absolut back on top again was to create a new expression of Absolut, which is Absolut Elyx. And then the second, once you made that decision, the question is, how do we make this successful? And then I really wanted to try out to be an entrepreneur, to be the guy who takes the risk of doing that. Of course, all of the fun as well, but it's a big risk to start something. Out of 100 new vodka brand launches, more than 90% of them, more than 90 will fail. So it is a risk, a risky thing to do. But I felt it was so worth it in the end. And if we think about legacy for a moment, if I'm able to make this a success, a big success, and it becomes the most aspirational vodka brand there is, even when I'm 70 or 80 or 90 years old, hopefully I'll live that long.
Don't limit yourself.
If I keep pouring the drinks out. No, but if I'm able to have that and make that work, that's legacy. And I think that is an incredibly motivating thought, to be able to walk around and in 50 years' time see that this brand is still around and being enjoyed by American consumers and other consumers, and say, wow, I was part of doing that and I created that. I think that for me was such a motivating driver and such a motivating thought. And I think that thought is what made me make that jump from the sort of safe, comfortable corporate environment into let's throw myself out there and see if we can really make this work.
You're doing an extraordinary job, Jonas. What an incredible brand. I've experienced not only the facilities, but also, of course, the copper side of things,
Yes.
and even moreover, the product itself. And fortunately or unfortunately, I've tasted most vodkas, and you are doing an extraordinary job because I think the legacy speaks for itself, and your legacy will carry with it. But don't limit yourself. You can live far past 100. I have a habit, some advice for you at the end. Anytime you meet someone 100 years old, always ask them the secret to life.
Yes.
Invariably, always, I hear, have one drink a day.
Yes.
And what my suggestion is, make it Absolut Elyx. Maybe it'll really gonna live longer. Thank you so
Well
much.
said. Thank you very
Jonas
much.
with Dave Meltzer here
Thank
with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.
Thank you.